The first time it really hit me was one evening last winter. I was standing in my kitchen with a cup of tea I had already forgotten to drink. It had gone cold in my hands. The room was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes a sound when you move. I'd just come back from the doctor and he had said everything looked fine for my age. I nodded and thanked him, and I meant it. But when I got home, I realized there was no one to tell. I stood there longer than I needed to, looking at the wall clock, listening to it tick, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a small, sharp fear, not of dying, of disappearing before I was done living. I didn't always feel like that. When I was younger, I thought time was something that took care of things on its own. I thought if you waited long enough, problems would wear themselves down, feelings would soften, people would come around, life would even itself out. I believed that because it made getting through the day easier. If something hurt, I told myself it would pass. If I made a mistake, I told myself time would smooth it over. I didn't rush to fix much of anything. I grew up in a small house with thin walls and a father who worked too much. My mother cooked the same meals every week, not because she loved routine, but because it was cheaper and easier. I learned early how to stay out of the way. I wasn't unhappy. I just didn't ask for much. When I left school, I took the first steady job I could find. It wasn't something I dreamed about. It paid the bills, and that felt like enough. I met my wife in my 20s. She laughed easily and didn't talk much about the future. That suited me. We married, rented a place, bought a bigger one later. We had children. We did what people around us were doing. Mornings were rushed, evenings were tired. Weekends were for errands and fixing things around the house. There was always something that needed doing, and I took comfort in that. Being busy kept me from thinking too hard. I went to work every day at the same time. I ate lunch from a brown bag most days. I came home, washed my hands, sat down for dinner. We talked about small things, school notes, the weather, what needed to be paid. After dinner, I watched television and fell asleep in my chair. I told myself this was life. This was how it was supposed to be, and maybe it was. Years passed quietly, not in big jumps, but in small steps that didn't feel like movement. One Christmas blended into the next. One birthday followed another. The kids grew taller, then louder, then more distant. I noticed the big changes, but I missed the small ones. I thought I had time. I always thought I had time. My wife would sometimes say we should take a trip, or have people over more often, or talk about things we hadn't talked about in years. I would nod and say we would, later. Work was busy. The kids needed us. There would be time. I didn't argue with her. I just didn't act. When the kids left home, the house got quieter. I thought that quiet would feel like rest. At first it did. Then it started to feel empty. My wife and I sat across from each other at meals and talked less. Not because we were angry. We just didn't know what to say. We had spent years talking around responsibilities. When those faded, we were left with ourselves. She got sick in her early 60s. Nothing sudden at first. Just tired more often. Doctor visits that stretched longer. Medications that filled a small plastic box. I told myself we would adjust. Time would teach us how. I kept going to work. She stayed home. I assumed we were handling it. The day she died was calm. That's what surprised me most. There was no drama. No last words that changed me. Just a quiet room and a nurse who spoke softly. I held her hand and felt how light it had become. Afterward, I went home and sat in my chair. The television was on. I don't remember what was playing. After the funeral, people checked in for a while. Then they stopped. I understood. They had lives. So did I told myself. I went back to work. I ate alone. I slept on my side of the bed. I thought time would take the edge off, and it did, in a way. The pain dulled, but something else took its place. I retired a few years later. I had imagined retirement as a long rest. No alarms, no meetings, just quiet days. At first, it felt like freedom. Then, it felt like nothing. Days stretched. Meals lost their shape. I forgot what day it was more than once. I stopped shaving every day. I stopped cooking much. A sandwich was enough. My children called on holidays, sometimes on birthdays. I told them I was fine. I meant it in the sense that I wasn't sick. But fine is a wide word. It can cover a lot. We didn't talk about the past. We didn't talk about things we missed. We talked about weather, work, traffic. I waited for them to ask more. They waited for me to say more. Neither of us did. One year, I realized I hadn't seen my grandson in almost 12 months. Not because anyone kept him from me, just because we never planned it. I thought about calling. I didn't. I told myself next week, next month. Time passed. I don't remember the moment I turned 70. I remember the cake. I remember smiling for a picture. But the number didn't sink in until later. Until I started counting things differently. Not years ahead, but years behind. I thought about how much had already happened. How much I had assumed would fix itself. The real turning point came on an ordinary day. I slipped in the bathroom and sat on the floor longer than I needed to. I wasn't hurt badly, but I couldn't get up right away. I sat there and laughed at myself, then stopped laughing. If something had gone wrong, no one would have known for hours. Maybe longer. That thought stayed with me. I began to notice how often I chose silence, how often I waited instead of acting. I had done that my whole life, not out of fear exactly, more out of habit. I thought patience was the same as care. I was wrong. I didn't make a big decision. I didn't change everything at once. One afternoon, I picked up the phone and called my daughter, not for a reason, just to hear her voice. We talked longer than usual. There were pauses. I didn't rush to fill them. Neither did she. A week later, I wrote a short note to an old friend I hadn't seen in years. I didn't explain myself. I just said I had been thinking about him. He wrote back. His handwriting had changed. So had mine. I started saying yes when people invited me somewhere, even when it felt easier to stay home. I sat with discomfort. I let conversations be uneven. I didn't try to be interesting. I just tried to be there. Nothing dramatic happened. I didn't suddenly feel young. I didn't fix the past. But something shifted. I stopped waiting for time to do the work for me. I understood that time doesn't repair much on its own. It just moves. Now, when I sit alone in the evening, the quiet feels different. It's still there, but it doesn't scare me the same way. I know that if I want to hear a voice, I can reach for it. I know that waiting has a cost. If there's one thing I wish I had understood sooner, it's that people don't stay within reach forever, even when they love you. Distance grows quietly. It doesn't announce itself. And time doesn't close that distance unless you step into it. If you're listening to this and someone comes to mind, someone you've been meaning to call or write to, don't assume there will be a better moment later. Later has a way of thinning out. Say something simple. It's usually enough. If you feel like sharing, I'd like to hear your story in the comments. And if this meant something to you, pass it along to someone who might need it. You can subscribe too if you want to sit together like this again. I'll be here.